Hey Eddie Cochran fans, I'm in Cypress, California at Forest Lawn Memorial Cemetery where the great Eddie Cochran is forever buried and lying next to his beloved Sharon, who wrote something else for him. And on her epitaph it says, "She was something else, we will miss you." She was 62 years old and she survived her beloved Eddie 42 years. She, if I remember correctly in the biography, Eddie brought her April 4th for her birthday while he was on tour in England, and he was in the back seat of a taxi. They were leaving a concert in Bristol, and I think they were heading to London to fly out back to California. And ironically, he tried to save or protect Sharon as the car was out of control, and as he was lying on top of her, the door opened and he flew out instead of Sharon. And thereby he fell out, got slammed on the pavement, and suffered a massive cerebral hemorrhage. And then Gene Vincent, I think he got thrown on. He got hurt, his leg got hurt really bad. He was only 21 years old. And I don't know if he went to Liverpool, I got to look that book up again, or if he was in Bristol, but I remember that they said that John and George in their teddy boy outfits came to see Eddie a couple of times. So if it wasn't for the great Eddie Cochran, we wouldn't have no Beatles, we wouldn't have no Rolling Stones, and Led Zeppelin were really inspired by Eddie Cochran. He's buried next to his mother Alice and his dad Frank. And Sharon, when he died, because all these plots are from the 70s, she probably said, "Man, when I die, I'm going to lie next to my beloved Eddie." She really loved this guy because she was married to the famous DJ Jimmy O'Neill. And you think she'd be buried next to him, but no, she's married to the guy that she really loved. And if it wasn't for his early death, I'm sure they would have gotten married, even though they said they were unofficially engaged on that tour in the UK. She was also, getting back to Sharon, she was the youngest ever songwriter that wrote a #1 hit, and it was called "Poor Little Fool," and she wrote it and she gave it to Ricky Nelson to record. And she kind of fibbed and told Ricky that her godfather wrote it, but she really wrote it because she had a terrible affair with Don Everly, who was married at the time, one of the Everly brothers. And she wrote "Poor Little Fool." She was 18 years old, and it was the first #1 hit to ever hit the Billboard charts, #1. And when she married Jimmy O'Neill, the DJ from Los Angeles, they created a show called Shindig, and it was on LA in LA for 2 years. It was recorded here, and every famous rock and roll group of the era recorded and performed on it. And anyway, when I was standing here, some fans came and they left this beer here, which makes sense because it's Pabst Blue Ribbon, which was popular in the 60s, and I bet even Eddie used to drink that. And a fan wrote this thing right here. Also, there was another letter here when I got here. It said, "Eddie, I think I got a job not far from here. It's me. My name is David. You don't know me, but I'm a big fan of yours. Tell Elvis I said hi. Tell Joe Strummer I still think about him too. David." August 12, 2014. And funny thing is, Sharon dated Elvis Presley. And in the 60s, she wrote a bunch of songs with Jackie DeShannon. And she wrote a couple of songs for her, and Jackie DeShannon wrote some songs for Brenda Lee and Irma Thomas. They wrote songs for Glenn Campbell, Richie Valens. Well, that's when, in 1959, because that's when he died. It was called "Hurry Up." And she wrote 3 songs for Eddie: "Something Else," "Cherished Memories," and "Love Again." And they're forgettable songs in my opinion, but she'll always be remembered for "Something Else" and "Poor Little Fool." And I'm sure she lived comfortable just on those royalties the rest of her life. And Eddie Cochran, man, if it wasn't for Eddie. And let me tell you something about Eddie. He grew up in Bell Gardens, about 3 miles from here to the south, to the northwest, in that direction. And there's no memorial, there's no plaque, there's no monument anywhere in Bell Gardens. And Ironically, even in Hawthorne, California, they just barely put a monument to the Beach Boys where their house once stood. And the house where Eddie lived, they just tore it out not too long ago. It was in a service road in the back of the bicycle club. And anybody from Southern California who's a good gambler has most likely gone to the bicycle club. Well, anyway, I worked there in the late 80s, and there was a bunch of houses on that block behind the bicycle club. And I used to ask my friend, gee, I wonder where Eddie grew up. And we just like talk about it because he went to Bell Gardens High School, my friend, and I told him Eddie used to go there, and he went to junior high there. And there's no plaque or memorial, but I got a book by Eddie Cochran's nephew a couple of years back, and they put the address where Eddie grew up. And lo and behold, those houses were still standing when I was working at the bicycle club asking my friend. And here they go and they tear it out. And if I would have known back then where he would have lived, I would have gone to the city hall or called the Heritage or some kind of institution that deals with all that type of thing, you know, like landmarks. Maybe I could have gotten it saved and saved it for the Heritage Museum there in Bell Gardens, and they could have at least had a museum to Eddie Cochran. But like they say, a musician, a philosopher, an artist, they're never famous in their own country. But in England, here they got a plaque where he got killed at the lamppost outside of Bristol and Chippenham, Wiltshire, and they got a plaque in memorial to Eddie where he got killed, where he died, I mean, in the hospital. And anyway, Eddie, thank you for all the great music that you gave us, all the great people you inspired, and we'll always love you, man. You're something else. And you guys, I got about 60 videos, so please subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of interesting popular culture videos about famous people and famous places all over Southern California. Okay, Eddie Cochran fans, thanks a lot. May he rest in peace. And thankfully, he's lying next to his beloved Sharon Shealy, the great songwriter. Okay,